Ladies and gentlemen, a new video generation model has been released called Happy Horse, developed by Chinese developers from Alibaba. The Chinese are competing with each other to create models for making cool videos. Kling, SEEDANCE, and now Happy Horse. Well, let's compare them. Today we'll give it a full test and compare it with its main competitor, as they say, SEEDANCE 2.0. We'll check what each model is capable of and how they handle the same tasks. This model is already available on Syntx. If anything, the registration link is on your screens. Scan it and jump onto Syntx. All the most advanced models appear there promptly. Let's take a look. You can find it here in the video section. And right here in the menu on the right, you can select it. Here it is, the Happy Horse model with this amusing logo. Let's see what features it actually offers. Of course, generation. Video by text prompt. Naturally by the first keyframe. That is when we upload a keyframe. Unfortunately, for some reason, there is no option to add a final keyframe, only the initial one. But okay, that's still pretty good. And of course, my favorite is video by reference. When we upload some references, show some examples, and explain in the text exactly what we want to get from it. And based on these requests of ours, it gives us something. This is actually my favorite feature across all models, both on Syntx, on Kling, and on Fitness and everywhere else. You can already choose 1080 quality, but this significantly affects the generation cost. So I don't see any point in it. I always generate all my videos in 720, and then, if necessary, I can always upscale them later. The resulting video, for example, can be upscaled somewhere in, say, Upscale It Pass. Why not, right? Also, here there is a kind of average, I would say, choice of aspect ratio. That is, it's not bad, not like on Google View where there are only 2 options, but still, you can't say there are a lot of choices. Nevertheless, I think the most popular ones, these two, are always at the top. Whether you're making a horizontal video for YouTube, for example, or if you're making some reels or shorts in a vertical format. So I think you'll end up using just these 2 options anyway. The duration is up to 15 seconds. And that's it, basically. There's no other functionality. There's nothing else here. Audio is enabled by default here. That is, you can't even turn it off. Basically, it will always generate with sound. Let's check it out. I've uploaded 2 characters like this, generated in Midjourney. By the way, I have a full course on Midjourney. There, I cover it all from A to Z, showing how to use Midjourney and create cool things. So if you're interested, check out my website. I uploaded both characters and wrote this simple prompt. A battle between these 2 characters. Inside a magical forest, rotating camera, dynamic scene, and an epic choreographed fight. Let's keep it. Cinematic lighting, a dramatic atmosphere like an expensive movie. First of all, let's take a look at how Happy Horse handled this particular task. In my opinion, it's pretty weak. It might be able to compete with Kling, but not with SEEDANCE. The quality is very chewed up, kind of blurry, with blurred textures. The characters' movements themselves seem natural, not mutated, but at the same time, they're boring in my opinion. Very boring. Let's see how SEEDANCE 2.0 handled this task. The only thing is, in this particular example, I forgot to change the aspect ratio and made it in a vertical format. But I think that won't bother you.
Пойду я тебя.
The sounds are much cooler, the quality is much better. Even though it said kulta, there's some nonsense in Russian, but the video itself still looks really good. It's really awesome. The movement, the quality, and yes, overall, I actually like the atmosphere and the camera movement here much more, especially considering the generation cost. In general, of course, SEEDANCE 2.0 is a bit more expensive, it's worth noting. Apparently, that's why it's better, but I think it's worth it. For now, Happy Horse is losing, in my opinion. Let's take a look at the results of the next task. I uploaded this one here. This is a character from my own artwork, and I wrote a professional prompt asking to make a cinematic blockbuster. A dynamic scene where a girl is riding a motorcycle through a city at night. She's being chased, cars, gangster cartels, a shootout, explosions. In short, all of this in the style of John Wick, Blade Runner 4K and Max. Basically, he wrote all of that in the prompt. Let's see how Happy Horse handled this prompt. Well, I don't really know, guys. The textures here are really chewed up. Honestly, I'm just not a fan of this kind of blur. It already feels like something really old. Like the early Stable Diffusion or something, you know, just like that. That is how those old models used to generate images back then. Once it was just images, but now we see that the video is generated with this unpleasant blur with some mutated, noisy textures. Well, I don't know, honestly. In my opinion, it's really weak, although visually the character's appearance is actually... it's conveyed pretty well, meaning it did transfer the character. From this reference, it's actually quite good, even including the graphic jacket and the tattoos. All of that was done pretty well for the character itself, but everything else looks terrible and the textures are awful. The voiceover is basically fine, but the textures are disgusting, in my opinion. Now let's see how SEEDANCE 2.0 handled this task. Of course, friends, this is a completely different level of video generation. Yes, we can see that even though the gunshots are somewhat chaotic and unclear, sometimes even appearing where they shouldn't be, everything else, if you ignore the gunshots themselves, looks really cool, very high quality and very well done. The motorcycle, the girl, even the cars chasing after her are so well rendered. That explosion she flies right through. Man, I just absolutely love it. The hair blowing in the wind, everything is super cool and spectacular. Of course, this is... for now, it doesn't quite reach true Hollywood level, so to speak. But it's really awesome. SEEDANCE 2.0, in my opinion, is absolutely unrivaled today. Neither Kling nor Happy Horse, and certainly not Veo, can even come close to competing with it, in my view. But let's take a look anyway, maybe the situation will change. I've uploaded this little car here, which I also generated beforehand in Midjourney. In general, Midjourney is great for generating all sorts of interesting characters and objects, things that most likely neither NanoBanana nor any other neural network will be able to generate for you. And I asked NanoBanana to create a storyboard for a movie trailer using this car. For some reason, it did it in this drawn, illustrated style, this storyboard. I probably should have asked for it to be done in a cinematic style, because this illustrated look ended up giving an unpleasant, also drawn effect in the video generation. So if you plan to do something similar, keep in mind that it's better to ask for it. Ask NanoBanana to make the storyboard in a realistic style. If you need it for some trailer, movie, and so on, let's see how Happy Horse handled this task to start with. Overall, not bad. It seems to me that the sounds in Happy Horse are very weak. It seems that the voiceover as it is already good, but it's kind of weak somehow. And here there's some kind of animation that appeared unnecessarily. So the beginning was pretty good, but then everything just... and all these blurry textures really get on my nerves, to be honest. I just really don't like them. I get the feeling that I'm watching some kind of generated video. There used to be, I think, Stable Video, or some kind of software like that, similar to Stable Diffusion, where you could animate something where one frame would grow into another. Everything was blurry, everything mutated, it was madness, basically, pure epilepsy. These are kind of echoes from those developments, that's what I see here. Here too, the textures get blurred and they work a bit unstably. Well, in general, maybe it's fun to play around with, but in my opinion, this kind of thing should be free, like, you know, all those models you can download locally to your computer. Through something like ComfyWire, roughly speaking, they generate something there. Like those, you know, just a kind of junkyard. Well, roughly speaking, I would put this in that category. At that level, this result is very weak. So let's see how SEEDANCE 2.0 handled the same task.
Ну что, черт?
Well, not bad. I can't really defend it here. I can't really defend SEEDANCE 2.0 too strongly because here the car is on both sides. Some kind of wrong. Here he inserted a lot of drawing. The beginning was super realistic, then some frame from some game. This shot is absolutely awesome, stunning, cinematic. In this one, it's kind of half cartoonish, some kind of rocks. I think it has something to do with that storyboard that he drew for me. NanoBanana, And so apparently because of this cartoonishness, he also generated such nonsense for me here. Not very honestly, I can't say that there are 20 sitting here, I like it more. The only thing I can note is that in Sedan 20, the textures are always good, everything is excellent, cinematic. Even where it's drawn, overall everything remains stable. Textures don't warp and are undistorted, everything is great. Even with the car moving, we can see it moving, nothing is blurred, though it moves awkwardly, but the textures themselves look good, even here. In this case, SEEDANCE didn't cope with the task. Let's take a look further. I made a storyboard using Nano Banano. For this kind of drink, premium soda called Cartel. I asked to make a storyboard for such an expensive commercial. The only thing I didn't notice, it wrote some nonsense here in an incomprehensible language. It's not readable in either Russian or English. Here it's in English or something else, maybe Bulgarian. In short, it would have been better to do it without any text, because ultimately this text played a cruel joke. You'll see what I mean in a moment, but for the future keep in mind that it's probably better to generate without text and not to repeat this mistake. This mistake with the drawn part as well. This kind of storyboard. And if you're also going to make something based on these kinds of storyboards, like some videos, it's better without text and better in hyperrealism. A very simple prompt. Create an expensive premium commercial. Soda, Cartel. The storyboard was uploaded. Let's see how Happy Horse handled this task. Well, as I have said, in my personal opinion, this is the level of some secondary auxiliary models like Van, which are used through configs in Vi, and in my view, this is a decidedly underwhelming level. It seems good if you compare it to results from, let's say, 2 years ago. Back then, of course, video generation was significantly more primitive. But if you compare it to current standards, today's leader is Syntx. Of course, compared to SEEDANCE, this loses out by a lot. Although it seems like even the sound is already pretty decent. But here he just pours the water somewhere. The textures of the soda are terrible. Well, here the shot of the woman looked good. This first shot is also good. In the end, he never took off the cap. See? He left the cap on and just fiddled with it. A stream even passed through the cap. In general, it's complete nonsense. Let's look at the result. SEEDANCE 2.0.
Идеальность изотничается в каждой белем капле.
I'm not sure if he's speaking Serbian or what, but these captions, of course, ruined everything, even though the result itself is absolutely and insanely cool. But these captions, apparently, it's because of these specific captions in the storyboard. Apparently, you really need to upload the original storyboard without any captions for the best possible result. But if you ignore these strange languages, whatever they happen to be in this video, the frames themselves are actually insanely impressive. Cool, just crazy. The background music is pleasant, and just look at all the textures, how high quality it looks. It's simply a masterpiece. It looks like an expensive commercial. No exaggeration, even the cork. It was shot correctly, and the drink pours over the ice through it, and the shot with the girl in general is just amazing. It was good there, but here it's absolutely perfect, and the bottle is rendered excellently, everything is great. So Syntx 20 is simply a master. Today he's our leader, even though, let me remind you, there's also Happy Horse. I generated it in 720p, and I also generated the Syntx in 720 quality. The only thing, by the way, is that here the mode is Pro Man. And if I had chosen a FAS, maybe the results would have been a bit worse, I don't know. But in general, I don't recommend generating with FAS at all. In my opinion, it's a very, very weak model if we're talking about Syntx 20, only about the mod, that's all. If you like this kind of content, if you want to see more tests, be sure to hit the like button under this video, so I can see your feedback. Wishing you all a great mood, let's level up together. See you in the next video. Let's go.